introduction of myself, if not have met earlier. I'm Abhigya Pokharel, and I have 13 years of industrial experience, especially focused in the telecom area. And I'm an Agile Scout, and I'm an active member of different society, like in Agile Nepal, Girls in Tech, Spiral Nepal. So I'm a mentor, I'm a coach. I might have met few of you in the GIT session as well. So that's good to see as well. So a little disclaimer before I move in. I'm not a legal expert or an economic expert, but I'm talking on this topic because I've been practicing Agile for a couple of years now, and I take a great interest in sharing my knowledge. I do not say that everything that you will be seeing in this presentation is from my experience. Yes, some of them are taken from my own personal experience, but few other stories are cited from different sites. You can see the sources as we go on. Yeah, so we will be starting with the session now. We live in a VUCA world. If anyone has heard about VUCA, what is VUCA? We live in a world that is volatile, that is uncertain, that is complex, and that has a lot of ambiguity, right? We face challenges, we face crises, and we respond to them because we do not have any choice. And a similar crisis that we are going through, I would not say that we've already ended up with, but the world is facing is COVID. And what was the impact that COVID made? Lockdowns, we've never heard of them before, right? Virtual meetings, we never knew. We never knew that we could do conferences in virtual as well, but we did it. We responded to them. We responded in the way that was required. And schools, I mean, the kids, they were also having virtual classes. We never thought about, your child would go to a school and attend online classes. So that was also possible. And economy, when you talk about economy, was it a very good time for the industry? No, definitely not, yeah, because there were so many industries which were on the verge of collapse. Probably some of them even collapsed, right? So what was there? Like, do you think that they responded very well, or they had a very good, business continuity plan for their crisis? Do you think that they had a business continuity plan for the crisis management? No. But don't you think that now it's high time that we've seen COVID, maybe we'll see something else in the future? We come up with alternative solution. If this does not work, what would our plan be now? So I think that's a high time we think about our economic conditions, we think about these crises and the ways that we could tackle them if we have something else in future. This is one of the figures that I've taken from McKinsey, in a survey that was done in December 2021. So they've portrayed that pandemic and inflation are considered to be the top risks for domestic growth. So if you look at this, the impact, I'm highlighting it in India and in developing countries because they are directly related to us. The COVID-19 impact was seen, it was very highly seen in India with 56%, and in developing markets, again, 42%. But again, if you look at the inflation, maybe you have already even realized. I was shocked when I went to, buy some lemons a couple of days back, and one lemon cost 20 rupees. I was amazed. One lemon, 20 rupees. So just look at the inflation that we are going through. That's just an example of Nepal, but again, in Sri Lanka, the economy is on the verge of collapse, right? So, I mean, with power crisis for 12 hours a day, and they're paying like $250 rupees for rice, which cost 80 rupees earlier. So look at the level of inflation that these things have invited. The crisis has invited. So are we ready to overcome the crisis in the manner that we are required to do so? Again, another question of thought. Are the SMEs, the small, medium enterprises, aware about the challenges that they are facing? Big industry giants, they might be having a monopoly, right? So are the SMEs aware what would their next plan be? So that's a question of thought. The pandemic could be worsened. It could be even more in the coming days. And what about the income inequality between the people living in the urban areas and the people living in the rural areas? The inequality between the highly educated people and the inequality between the less educated people. How do we serve them? Do we have any answer? No, right? So that was just a food of thought. But now what we are going through then? We're going through a state of shock with all these facts that's coming up in the past 2 or 2.5 years. We're going through a state of shock. We're going through a state of crisis. We are in dire need of leadership, a true leader, be it in your organization or be it in your country or be it in your family. You're looking for a leadership who could help you come out of these kind of uncertainties. We're looking for best practices. We are seeing how the world is going through and how the world has responded through these challenges. And we see some best practices, we can copy them, be it at work, be it in your family, or be it elsewhere. So we're seeking for best practices, and we are certainly going through a post-crisis crisis. So what organizations are looking for now are better ways to thrive their business. Maybe some of them have done better, so pandemic has become a boon for them, but maybe some are still thriving. Some are doing good, some are not, right? But nonetheless, they are still trying. And what is important in this time? A decision-making capability, because one small decision and everything changes, right? So I think it's a key. How would you act upon any uncertainty? Your decision-making capability needs to be strong. How do we decide how to act upon anything? So if you've read this book, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, he's a behavioral scientist and a Nobel Prize winner. I do not remember the name, the year exactly when he won the Nobel Prize, but he's a Nobel Prize winner and a behavioral scientist. And if you go through his book, he's described that our brain works with two systems. So one is more systematic, which is more rational, which is more analytical, which looks for facts and figures. And the other one is more emotional, which is more fast, which is more instinct, right? And one is always preferred over the other. If you're emotional, there are certain situations where you need to act emotionally, be instinctive, be very decisive on the spot, whereas at some time, you need to go through the facts and figures. You need to take time. You need to analyze. You cannot just give abrupt decisions. So the situation depends, the decision depends upon the situation that you would be going through. I have a small exercise over here. I think this would interest you as well. So let's do this. So it's a small quiz. It wouldn't take more than a few seconds. So the question is, I went to buy Coke and biscuit, and Coke and biscuit cost me 110 rupees. So Coke and biscuit cost me 110 rupees, and Coke was 100 rupees more than biscuit. Coke was 100 rupees more than biscuit. How much did the biscuit cost? Any answer? 10. Good. Now, that's the thing that I was talking about, because I see some people here whose emotional side was very rapid. So I'm not saying that it's wrong, it's right, or it's a good practice, or it's not. So it's the way that we are made of, right? Even when I went through it, my answer was 10 abruptly, because 110 and 100 rupees more is 10 rupees, right? So it's like how your brain functions at times. So maybe some are more factual. So I think you answered 5, right? So you went through the analytics. So you're more rational. The team members over here, they were more emotional. So it's all about how your brain is designed to think. Little bit of practice, a little bit of exercise to improve on these kind of decision-making skills. I'm just going to talk about some tips. Firstly, know your biases. So probably with this exercise, you've come to know what your biases are. For some, it's emotional. For some, it's rational. So know your biases and balance them. So now you know that these are my balances, and these are the things I need to work upon. So you need to balance them. Then you decide. Decide on what decision or what next step that you're going to take. But again, like for the small question that I asked, you cannot take 5 minutes, right? So you need to have a specific time window. Maybe for some cases, you might be having a very, relaxed time window, but for some, you might need to have very short time window. So decide on the time window based on the situation that you are. And then you learn few techniques. So if you read the books, I've not read it, I've not read the complete book, but if you read if you read the book completely, then you'll come up with some tactics that will help you eliminate these kind of uncertainties. And then you practice. You put yourself in real situations, and then you test your hypothesis. Is this correct or not? So I think by doing that, it will somehow help you to make your decisions better. So I would only say that maybe it would help you if you keep on, if you keep on practicing these methods, then probably your decision-making capabilities would be better. So what decisions did the organizations make then? So there are organizations who responded to differently in different situations, right? Agile was there, agility was there in the past as well, before COVID-19, but it's just that the need to be more agile or the need to thrive, it was just amplified with the pandemic. The need of digitization, for example, it was there earlier as well. But with COVID-19, maybe the need of digitization has been amplified. Yeah? Organization, they felt tremendous pressure to fit into this model, to respond, and to come up with better decisions that would help their organizations thrive. So we can see some instances of the omni-channel, like the online things, like we never did online shopping earlier. At least for me, like it was not very common before the pandemic, but now, I'm so used to it now. So I think COVID-19 has just amplified the need. So that's just one example, right? Another example of Isinova, that's an Italian startup company who makes snorkeling masks. Snorkeling, right? The underwater thing, yeah. So they make masks for snorkeling, and with COVID-19, they showed great agility, and they started making ventilator masks. So masks for ventilators. And in no time, they were already supplying these masks to the hospitals. So that's an example of a great agility that was shown. Similarly, Amazon, they changed their line of business as well. So they started focusing their distribution in essential items. Earlier, Amazon did not deliver essential items, but with COVID, they noticed the need for essential items, and they started delivering them. So that was also a kind of agility, a great agility that was shown in times of crisis. So what was the result then? With some industries, coping up with the crisis, and they're coming up with their, they're coming up with a changed business strategy and started doing business differently. So what was the result then? A massive acceleration in Agile adoption. So do we think that we've been adopting Agile in a faster pace now? So if you look at the figures, if there was an adoption of Agile in software industry 30%, 37% earlier, then now it's 84%. Similarly, in IT industry, from 26% to 60%. Yeah, I've taken these figures from a trusted source, from State of Agile. If you can see, you can even see the reports online. So I've taken the figures from there. And you know, business agility is something that would always be required, right? The need for speed, the need for the time for integration, that will always be there. It's only about how you respond to these changes and the market conditions so that you better thrive, or your organization thrives, your business thrives in a given crisis. So again, talking about change, the famous quote from Charles Darwin, he said that it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent one that survives, but the one that's most adaptable to change. I think that's the most important thing. The one that's most adaptable to change. We know that we do not like to come out of our comfort zone, right? But what about the dynamics that's changing outside? If you get stuck over there, then it's like it'll be always difficult for you to come out. And one good book that I've not mentioned it here, but it just came across my mind, you can read, is Who Moved My Cheese? A very good, I forgot the writer right now, but a very good book that shows that why change is important and why adopting to change is even more important. So you can go through that book as well. With change, let's talk about the consumer behavior that's changing. So when I talked about online shopping earlier, so if the figures used to be 6%, then now it's 10% for every product item. So every product item has been, being bought 4% more in the past than it used to be before the COVID pandemic. And this is another figure that I've cited from another source, so which shows that the percentage of online shopping is at least one online purchase two online purchases every 2 months. So you can see that, and maybe you can even, you can even check with yourself as well. So you've been doing a lot of online shopping, right? So that's how the business has been changed. That's how the dynamics is changing now. So there are different needs. The need for digitization, the need for change, the need for adoption, and the world is changing. Our behavior is also changing accordingly. So it's the same thing. So what is it that keeps, so what is it that allows you that freedom to respond to these type of crises? So what is that factor that is there, that is allowing you to respond to this crisis? Any guesses? Yeah? It's the agile, yeah? It's business agility, in fact. Business agility. So what is business agility then? Anyone heard of business agility? So it's the way your organization responds to the changing demands, be it change in your products, be it change in your delivery system, or be it change in your market strategy. So the way that the organization behaves or responds to change in a certain time, in a flexible, in a very fast, rapid time. So the time should be very, very smooth, right? Because let's say like you're in need of something, and if you respond to it after a year, that's not going to work for you, and that's not a business agility. From the examples that I gave, Isinova, Amazon, I will talk about some more as well. So they showed great agility because they responded to the needs on time, at the correct time. So it's also an X factor that an organization has, with the people, the processes, the tools and technologies that they have in place that gives some organizations more power or more resilience to be more agile. So what are the factors that promotes business agility then? Simple. Understand your employee needs, because your employees are the key to any success or any business. So how do you support your employee needs then, especially in times of crisis? How did your organization support your needs during the time of crisis? Maybe some gave you some medical facilities. Maybe some provided you with oxygen concentrators when you were in need or your family was in need with. Maybe some did some hospital tie-ups. So that's all about understanding your employees' need at certain time and acting upon, right? Again, social distancing was also another thing that was introduced. So it's all about how the organizations responded to the needs. Another thing is on focusing on emotional agility. We talk about business agility, we talk about business, we talk about organizations, but do we talk about the psychological safety of our employees? Do we talk about their emotional needs and their emotional safeties? And is your organization or has your organization been responding or providing you such platforms where you can exchange ideas, where you can put your concerns, your fears? With COVID-19, especially with the Delta variant, I was scared. That was the time when I went through the major crisis in my life. So how did your organization respond to all these? Did they make you feel more secured in terms of your psychological safety? A question, right? So that's another thing. Another one is promoting a culture of innovation and fail fast. So until we promote a healthy environment where you can experiment, where you can fail fast, you're not going to innovate. Because if your manager comes and says that, oh, you've done a mistake and I'm not going to, I'm not going to promote you for this, or your appraisal has been deducted, then you'll not be testing, you'll not be failing, you'll not be experimenting. There's no concept of fail fast. So you'll not be innovating. So you'll not be doing things in a better way, probably in the way that would have been. So that's very important. Provide a platform where your employees can feel secured about everything, about their emotional safety, about everything, and give them the power of innovation. Allow them to fail fast. A very, very important aspect of agility or business agility. So build your team with workers who are willing to learn. Because without learning new technologies, without learning what's going on, without reading books, or without seeing what's going on there, you will not be able to innovate. So that's one thing that's very important. And then that's something that promotes an organization to become a learning organization, because your employees are testing, they're learning, they're failing, they're innovating. So that's how you create a learning organization. So if you look at these two types of organizations, earlier in the hierarchical thing, a lot of bureaucracy, where organizations are treated as machines, or employees are treated as machines, a lot of top-down approach, a lot of centralizations, a lot of approvals needed. Do you think that it's a very, very good and safe environment to work in? Do you think that you would be very happy, or you'd be very comfortable working in such organization, or rather you would be more happy, relaxed, working in an organization which is more fluid, where things are more decentralized, where autonomy, mastery, and purpose is respected, where you have the autonomy to decide on your work. You know what's there. You have the vision. You work upon the vision, right? So it's all about creating an agile organization. How do you create it? If you keep on continuing with the hierarchical structure, with so many approvals, with so many hierarchies, it's not going to work. We'll just be talking about in theory, but practically it's not going to work. So build your organization with a lot of transparencies, in a fluid structure where there is a lot of decentralization, where there is the autonomy for you to perform your work. But autonomy does not, again, means that you can do anything. So you need to know what your boundaries are and work within the boundaries. Yeah. So what makes an organization an agile organization then? The foundation is trust. If you don't have the trust, then you do not have anything as agile organization. But again, there are certain pillars like customer centricity. You build your products, you design your work as per your customer needs. You respond to them. So that's one of the pillars. Network of teams. You cannot work in silos. Your business team should be working together with the IT team. Silos are not entertained in an agile organization. Shared purpose. You have a purpose. You have a vision. And you're working towards that shared purpose and shared vision. Whether you're working in IT, whether you're working in business, whether you're testing, whether you are a developer, whether you are a product owner, but you have a common vision. And that's very important. Open communication. Again, open communication, transparency, you work together, break that silo, yeah? And innovation and feel fast, like I said earlier. So what is it that gives you this kind of operational efficiency for building effective and stable backbone then? Do you think that technology is important? Just a blank question. Technology is important? Yes, it is important, but do you think that it's a silver bullet? Do you think that it's the thing that's of utmost importance? No, yes. I completely resonate with our keynote speaker, Anil Dai, when he said that if you think that the tool that you have is a hammer, all the problem will look like a nail. So if you only think about technology, you will only complain about, I do not have this tool to perform my work. I do not have this to do this. But you do not see the process or the people or the gist of, will your problem be solved with technology only? My agile processes are not in place. But do you think that if I introduce Jira, everything will be sorted? No. So start with the people. I need Jira. So my management is ready to get Jira or Rally for me. We have the need. For that, we have certain process. These processes could be defined in various ways. For various problems, various processes, right? So Jira is just an example. Don't take it seriously. Yeah. So it's not like technology is not the silver bullet. It's like have a problem statement, have the management buy-in first, and then come up with the solution. So you need to have a proper balance between all three of them. If you have an imbalance of either of them, it's not going to work. Yeah, so the same thing, I'm not going to go. Yeah, and strategic agility that I would talk about for some time. So how do you see that your strategic agility is in action then? Identify opportunities leading to new blue ocean strategies. With blue ocean strategies, I mean to say that creating new opportunities, creating new market space. Second one is scaling with the existing product and services that you have as of now. And third one is with accelerating the digital transformation and upgrading it from change management challenge to a vital necessity. So those three are here, but I'll give you some examples as well. So let's not talk only about theory, but we'll also see that how these were met by these companies that I'll be talking in the next slides. So Vodafone, everybody has heard about Vodafone, right? So what did they do in times of crisis then? Thermal scanners, we are all aware of. If you go to your organization, to your offices or restaurants or anywhere, you'll see thermal scanners. But they not only introduced thermal scanners, but they introduced wristband they called it social distancing bracelets. So every employee was supposed to wear that social distancing bracelet. And if somebody came like 2 meters closer to you, then the siren would beep. So that's how you maintain a social distancing, because that was the need of an hour. That was the need then. Social distancing was a must. Or maybe it would be again in future. We are sitting here in a clustered space, but again, there might be a need that again social distancing would be. So that's how they innovated, right? Dyson Electronics, they make vacuum cleaners, but in no time, they started making ventilators. And they made 15,000 ventilators in 10 days and they shipped it to hospitals. Showed great agility, changed their way of doing business, right? Ford. Now this is a very old story. We talk about agility, we talk about strategic agility, we talk about blue ocean strategy, but was it there then? Well, maybe it was not coined, but Ford showed this kind of agility back in 1908 when they made a car called T model. So they only made this car in blue color, and the main purpose was to solve, the transportation problem. So it was very reasonable. It was built in a very reasonable, low cost, and it was replaced. Then the main way of transportation was horses and carriages. So this car actually replaced the horses and carriages, and it was very cheap, or it was designed or manufactured in a very reasonable price. So that's how they showed their agility in that time, 1908, before we were born. I don't think anyone was born during that time, right? So before we were born. Another example is Apple. So you must be downloading, music from your Apple phones, iMusic. But how did they invent iMusic then? Then people were using all these illegal platforms for downloading music. Right on time, Apple thought of having a legal platform at a very customized or at a very promised rate where people could download music. And we've been using that. It's very common, right? Another example, UVD Robotics, a Danish company which makes self-disinfecting robots. So this has been used in Thailand in many hospitals and malls, and they're expanding their business. So it's a disinfecting robot, a self-disinfecting robot, which is probably a need today as well. Because we do a lot of disinfection, and we have workers who carry on that machine and they go on spraying, right? So these robots help that. It's being used in Thailand, and they're expanding their business. Another example is House Party, a video chat app. I don't know if you've heard of or not. Not very common in Nepal though. But again, they also started, using this online gaming with video chat. And during COVID, there was a sign up of 50 millions in the month of March only, March 2020. They had a sign up for this app with this large amount. And the thing that they only changed, the strategy that they only changed was combine their video chat app with games. And premium games are for free now. So people are enjoying the app. They're doing video calls at the same time they're also playing games. So there's a small exercise. We're not going to do it now, but I'm just going to show it like you check where your organization stands in embracing Lean Agile mindset. So it's a small thing. So on the left, it's more of a hierarchical thing or more of a traditional approach that we're doing. Plan-based delivery, fear of speaking up, command and control, silos, status quo, following standard processes. While on the right, it's more of being agile. Value-based delivery, psychological safety to speak up, engage and align, collaboration and transparency, innovation, improvements, right? So this is something that you can do as an exercise in your own. So this is something that I did for a few organizations, so I've marked them as red, yellow, and green. But this is something that you can do for your organization as well. Yeah. And I would like to conclude by saying that, yes, organizations or we ourselves are in dire need to discover and leverage new ways to think about and implement these changes, to implement agility, to come up with the changes that the world is asking for as of now. And with a lot of resilience, with the tools and technology, with the processes that are in place, definitely we would have something in place. And to successfully adapt to achieve strong performance in times of such crisis, managers or leaders, They need to effectively integrate speed and agility because they go hand in hand, right? With agility, your speed and your time of delivery should be there. That's all. Thank you. Can we take some questions? Any questions?